Good morning. Are we on? Good morning. We're on. We're live from Friday Harbor. It's no, it's not 3 minutes after 2. Look at our clocks. They're 3 hours apart. Our well-timed clocks. It might be 11:04 or else it's 2:03 in the afternoon. I'm going to go with 11:04. And with me, this show is called Hey, What's Going On Around Here?
What's going on around here?
Right. Okay. And with me is Heather Spaulding, the editor of the Journal of the San Juan Islands newspaper, and also Isabel Ashley, the new reporter for the same paper. We are going to talk for the next half hour or so about some of the stories that are in today's paper. Wasn't downstairs just yet. I don't know if it's arrived yet today, but it's an important paper. There are a lot of important stories that you're going to want to see. So we're going to give you just a taste of two out of 8 pages of news. We're going to give you a taste of 2 of the more important stories. First, we should touch on the election results, and the most important election result is that the yard signs are down and gone, right?
Yes.
That's the most important thing. Secondly, there are some winners.
Yeah.
So I'll let you talk a little bit about who won. And
The town of Friday Harbor Council, Richard Geffen received 78.98%. I wanted to point out, and I said in the article, that Noel Monin, who he was originally running against, dropped out of the race at not the very last minute, but pretty close to, and part of that thinking, I believe, in his announcement was that he is going to be the interim fire chief. So he still received 21.2% of the vote, but
that's pretty good.
That was
After
pretty
you
after
you
dropping out. That's what I thought.
You're not a candidate anymore. So, darn it, yes you are. And
Yes, you are.
You're gonna be. So okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And then for the fire district, it was Warren Appleton that won, and he received 58.72% of the vote. And I think that's really interesting because Warren really put in the hard work. I don't know if Jerry did this, but I know for sure that Warren was out there knocking on people's doors. Which I thought was, I like that too.
That's a good thing.
And that Jerry might have done that too.
And
I
you're
don't
brave
know,
today, nowadays, to be knocking on people's doors.
Right?
That's commitment
Yeah.
and bravery.
And then for the fire commission, or for the port commissioner race, Rich Goodhart received 69.29%, and Greg Hertel received 30.72 or 74. And that was going to be interesting to see what Rich Goodhart does. He's got some interesting ideas and some insights about the aviation side of things, which the port has not had in many years. So,
Well, and the Journal did a really good job of making your choices clear, right?
yeah, thank you.
I think, there were some very nice interviews of the candidates, and I think everybody knew who they were voting for.
Yeah.
So, good job. Then the trail has come up again in a major way, and that is a lead story in today's, this week's paper. Islanders testified in force against Zylstra Lake Trail. So tell us about that. Were you there?
I listened to it online. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm kind of glad I decided to do that, given how full it was. If you guys do go back online and listen to the hearing.
And there's a link at the very end of the story that takes you straight to that, which is nice. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of important. It's really interesting listening to what the Islanders had to say. I felt like many of them brought up some really good points about the trail. So we'll see what happens. The next hearing will be, or the council will come back to make their decision on the 27th. So we'll be paying attention. But in the meantime, so this public hearing was packed full of people, and it wasn't just property owners in the area. It was all kinds of Islanders from all ages and all different political viewpoints, actually, too.
Yeah, I guess that was my question is it mainly the people who would be directly affected in the valley, or is it broader than that?
It is actually broader than that. Most of them, I feel like, or a good deal of them, were property owners in the area that would have their property affected. There's a lot of old-time farmers that were there, and by that I mean people whose grandparents and great-great-grandparents owned property in this area, which is also interesting to hear. Gard Sundstrom, I quoted in there some of the things that he said, but what I didn't say was that he talked about how if you go to the cemetery, which overlooks that valley, many of the very same farmers that originally farmed that land are buried in that cemetery. And so you can look at that and you can think about, like, this is the area where they farmed that land. So thinking about it in terms of that is very interesting and I think important. I mean, it's a cultural thing, a historical thing. This is historical farmland. This would be apparently a 10-foot wide paved trail. And while there has not been any detail other than trying to put a multi-use trail through this area somehow, whether it be alongside the road or going through people's property, hasn't really been defined because they haven't done any real studies as far as I can tell. And as far as the county is saying. So listening to this hearing, just listening to what the people had to say, and not just the farmers, like I said, this is a broad, across the island, people were coming out to talk about their feelings on this. And one of the big things people brought up that were not property owners was our roads need work. Our roads need to be safer. We're not against a bike trail, but not against like a expanding the road necessarily for a bike path on the shoulder, but putting in this path that costs all this money that most people feel would benefit tourists rather than actual people that live here year round. And so they would like to see that investment go into the roads, which islanders use.
And perhaps making the roads a little safer for the tourists on the bikes and the scooters and all that.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so I don't.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say, though?
Yeah,
that
that's
maybe
fair
they're
to
looking
say.
for some sort of compromise of
I
both can be done without.
without this going through people's farmland and
Right.
more like a fixing up the roads kind of a scenario and making the shoulders a little better for everybody. There was really only one person that testified sort of for the trail, and they didn't even say for the trail. They just said, thank you for considering trail options.
Was that Olvie or was that someone else?
That was James McCubbin from Friends of the San Juans.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is this the first hearing on the trails?
I believe so, yeah. And it's not even on the trails. This was a hearing to decide whether or not the county is going to put it on their transportation infrastructure, their 6-year transportation infrastructure plan. And so all these islanders came out to say,
Yeah, I didn't mean
don't put
to say-
it on there.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say plural, this trail.
Yeah.
And so we've been seeing the signs go up for, I guess, nearly a year. So it's been bubbling up. But this is the first time that it was really brought
That people could talk
Yeah.
and say,
officially
officially, yeah.
capacity. Okay. Well, it's a great article, and there are many people in there that you no doubt know. So you'll want to read. There are a lot of good quotes. It's very good reporting. So thank you for
you.
doing that. Jeremy, here we come to a commercial break. We always test them. And by the way, we appear to be on a Washington State ferry. We're not actually on a ferry because, as you can see, there's no one moving around. behind us, and there's no water, nothing. But this is fun, right? So it feels like we're on a ferry. Looks like we're on a ferry. So we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk to Isabel Ashley about her reporting on the COVID-19, the COVID, is it still COVID-19, right? The COVID vaccination status on San Juan Island. Right back.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. Basically, he had to relearn everything. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Wait, use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Growing up, food meant a lot to me because it was time spent with my mother and my father. As far back as I can remember, I helped my mother make Spritz cookies every holiday. There was always a meaning to each cookie we decorated. I get a little choked up when I catch a glimpse of the cookie press in the cupboards. It still brings back warm memories of time I spent with my mother when I was young. My mother today suffers from dementia, but just by seeing the Spritz cookies, it brings back memories that she may have forgotten. Taking time out to prepare meals and sit down and have the meals together is what the holidays are really all about.
Your toe chains are a little loose. Could spark a wildfire.
Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You should check out SmokeyBear.com. They've got a bunch of tips on wildfire prevention.
Only you can prevent.
I forgot what we're called. Hey, what's going on around here? A couple weeks ago, I asked, the first time that Isabel was here, I asked what's going on around here with the COVID shots, kind of angry old man style. And you had already decided to do some reporting on that. So there's an excellent report by Isabel Ashley in today's paper, and we will talk about it a little bit here, but please read it. So there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of questions, and you wrote, I don't know how many words here, hundreds of words, explaining the reality. We know that there are probably hundreds, if not a few thousand people here who want to know what's in this article, and they want to understand why it's been so hard to get the vaccine here this time. So maybe you can just explain generally what you found.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the main reason kind of why different vaccine providers have had difficulty getting hold of the vaccine is mainly due to its commercialization or its privatization, which was a result, I believe, in May. The kind of public health response to COVID shifted from being a public health emergency to moving to a model where COVID vaccines and the overall response was going to be privatized, meaning that the government no longer provides the vaccine to vaccine providers for free. So that has a big effect on pharmacies, on healthcare providers, and especially for the county So one of the people I talked to first and foremost, who gave a lot of great information and also great information in their press releases, is Dr. Frank James from the San Juan County Health and Community Services Department. He spoke about how being a nonprofit, county department, they don't have the ability to be reimbursed by insurance agencies. So they are an out-of-network provider, and so they're not able to do what they've done in the past, doing huge vaccine clinics. So they are not able to be reimbursed and would have to pay out of pocket for every dose, which is about $120.
Right, or more.
Or more.
There was a range up
Yeah.
to 270. That's, I guess, with the.
RSV.
No, I'm sorry, that was RSV.
But yeah.
there is a range. It can be even higher than that. So the first thing that's different is somebody has to pay that to give it to you in hopes that they can get reimbursed.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's also true for the drugstore.
Yes, exactly. So Friday Harbor Drug also is expected to pay upfront for that. They're not reimbursed. The range was 30 to 90 days by health insurance. So
And that would be a great deal of money.
absolutely.
I mean, if hundreds of people, think about that, if hundreds of people wanted the shot right away and they were, fronting $100 per shot and they had to wait up to 90 days to get reimbursed, that would be almost like them being a bank.
Exactly.
Right.
And as
That's
you
not,
mentioned,
is that an
yeah.
appropriate role? I mean, it's just not for you, but I mean, is that an appropriate role for a small town drugstore to have to play? Should they be expected to front that?
Right.
Or even the hospital? I don't know.
And as you mentioned, with the $270 being RSV, they're also at this time of year rolling out flu and RSV vaccines. So all of that kind of accumulating is kind of why there's been such a delay in the wait, because the vaccine was made available in September. And so that's kind of why it's mid-November and we haven't had it in Friday Harbor. It is available through the county only for children 6 months to 18 years of age, as well as uninsured adults. These are available through different programs that'll give doses for free to the Health and Community Services Department.
Now, the drugstores on Orcas and Lopez are providing these, right? They are fronting that and waiting for the reimbursement and all that. Is that true?
This is true.
Okay.
As to the reason as to why they were able to secure it before Friday Harbor Drug, I'm not sure. It is kind of just a matter of maybe that they were able to pay that amount up front
Sure.
before Friday Harbor was.
Are people allowed to go from Friday Harbor over to Orcas or Lopez for the
Yeah,
shot?
absolutely. I asked that of Dr. James, and he said, yeah, absolutely. It's for anyone. It's for everyone. I thought too, should this be reserved for community members on Lopez and Orcas? But technically we're all members of San Juan County, so it's available to anyone.
Okay. And there was some discussion, I think, about the health department being able to help with these purchases, and then they found that they're not allowed to?
Exactly. So they were going to use grant money to try and do what they had originally planned to do, which was have a mass vaccine clinic. And they already had dates set up. They were ready to order vaccine doses, and then they were informed by the state health department, that they weren't able to utilize their funds for the vaccine, only for other kind of COVID responses, which at this point, COVID's very different. We're not needing the same kind of, testing clinics that have been seen in other places. So they really wanted to use, and they still really want to use that grant money for vaccines. As of, I believe, maybe November 3rd or so, I would say that was when Dr. James was telling me that the department is still, the community health services is still in talks with the health department, state health department, whether or not they can use that grant money. And as of today, I haven't gotten any updates from Dr. James, whether or not they're able to roll out something like that. But they are still in negotiations, really hoping that they can spend that grant money to give to anyone.
So the word appeal was used in there, but it's not formally an appeal. It's just continued conversation. So is San Juan County unique in this situation? Are the other counties having the same problem, or are we somehow unique because of the small economy or the small number of drugs? I don't understand. Is everybody going through this, or is this hitting San Juan County a little bit harder?
I think it's hitting San Juan County harder because other people have access to Costco. They have access to places,
Walgreens,
Rite
Aid,
where they can just go and get the vaccine. Obviously, that doesn't change the price issue for people who are uninsured. But then if they're uninsured, they might be able to go to a county office to get one for free through one of those government programs. But they're able to just go and easily access one versus we have limited options on the island.
Yeah, I guess 10 days ago or something like that, I finally didn't want to wait any longer, so I got on a ferry and running all over the place trying to find. We went to Walgreens and they said you don't have the right insurance, and that was a reserve. That was a reservation. Went to another major name. They said we have it. I guess Safeway said we have it, but you don't have an appointment. We're only doing this by appointment. At that point, it looked like the whole trip was a waste, and we know how risky it is to plan around ferry trips. So who knew when I was going to get back? And then thirdly, I went to Rite Aid, where actually they did it right away, and they had the right insurance. So it's either that or wait for this to come together here. But do you get the idea that it is going to come together here?
Yes. So I spoke with a pharmacist from Freddie Harper Drug, and they ordered 2 different vaccines, or it's obviously still COVID-19, I should say 2 different brands. They are expecting the Pfizer brand hopefully by the end of November. And I just checked their website today to see if there was any update, and it's still the same, end of November. You're able to make an appointment online. They also ordered Novavax, and from when I spoke with them, which was early November, they hoped a few weeks. So probably end of November, maybe early to mid-December. So it should be appearing. As for Peace Health, they also mentioned because it's available. This was a tricky one for them too, because obviously Peace Health is all over the state and other states, Oregon, Alaska. So they chose in those communities, there are pharmacies, places where people can access this vaccine. So they decided overall they're just not going to provide it except for to ages 6 months to 18 years. Actually, that's not available through Peace Health on San Juan Island because of it's available through the Health and Community Services Department, so you can still access it. They're just not doing it here. However, they did mention that they understand here with just one pharmacy and challenges unique to living on an island to get access to the vaccine. They're hoping to be able to provide the vaccine to high-risk adults and individuals. So not kind of a large rollout, not large availability, but they'll specifically contact these high-risk patients, which is another thing to consider. Obviously, anyone and everyone should be encouraged to get the vaccine, but Dr. James mentioned that, our highest priority right now would be those over the age of 60 and those with those who are immunocompromised. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully this was like the transition year, because I guess in the future this is going to be treated almost like a flu shot or booster. This was the year this was the season where the federal government stepped out of it, the state government essentially stepped out of it and turned it over to private enterprise, and it looks like private enterprise wasn't quite ready and caught a little flat-footed, and I assume next season, if this is going to calibrate to the flu stuff, maybe next fall everybody will see this coming and won't be quite so surprising. But after many of us have received 4 or 5 boosters, I didn't know. I didn't know that this one was going to be so different and so difficult. So hopefully we're just a couple weeks away, Great reporting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. And did you learn everything that there is in this article? You did not. One of the things that Isabel,
It's all right.
two first names. One of the things that Isabel did toward the end of the article was give you a lot of phone numbers and web addresses. You probably will still have more questions, and if you pick up the paper today and look all the way through to the end of the article, there's some very helpful next steps. So be sure to do that. We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. Basically, he had to relearn everything. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Wait, use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Growing up, food meant a lot to me because it was time spent with my mother and my father. As far back as I can remember, I helped my mother make Spritz cookies every holiday. There was always a meaning to each cookie we decorated. I get a little choked up when I catch a glimpse of the cookie press in the cupboards. It still brings back warm memories of time I spent with my mother when I was young. My mother today suffers from dementia, but just by seeing the Spritz cookies, it brings back memories that she may have forgotten. Taking time out to prepare meals and sit down and have the meals together is what the holidays are really all about.
Your toe chains are a little loose. Could spark a wildfire.
Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You should check out SmokeyBear.com. They've got a bunch of tips on wildfire prevention.
Only you can prevent wildfire.
Going on around here. Before we talk a little bit about the ferries leading out, hopefully everyone by now, a week later, has reset their clocks. And you're supposed to also change all the batteries in your smoke detectors too, right? You're supposed to do both of those at the same twice a year. You have an article you've looked into the daylight savings.
Yeah,
thing.
just a very little brief article about this kind of hatred of daylight savings time. It was passed in 2019. The Washington State Legislature was made kind of also with many other states as well, growing to want to get rid of daylight savings time and to just stay on permanent daylight time.
Why?
Because with longer daylight hours, there are different kind of benefits. Obviously, there's the ability to recreate longer. There's been studies done to show that there's been reduced crime rate because, longer daylight, more mischief happens at night, more accidents happen at night, so less traffic incidents, better commerce with more people out and about. So there's definitely, and then even health effects, apparently, with heart conditions improved. With switching the clocks and resetting, it can affect your health as well. So with all these reasons, many states have kind of wanted to get rid of daylight savings. And so there's actually the ability to move to only standard time, which would be, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around, but instead of switching the clocks, you're staying on the shorter daylight, I guess, hours, or just staying as if you weren't changing at all. And I believe Hawaii and Arizona are two states that stay on standard time. So you're able to switch to that without Congress approval. However, if you want to switch and stay on daylight time only, you have to have approval from the federal government. But because so many states have kind of wanted to make this shift, there was the Sunshine Protection Act passed, or beginning in Congress in, I believe it was March of 2022. And so it was supposed to be approved, hopefully, of this November 2023 to be able to eliminate daylight savings. However, since we did switch our clocks, you can make a guess that that has kind of been stalled. And so I was trying to look into reasons as to why. Why hasn't it kind of moved forward? And most news sources did not elaborate on why there's kind of this pause in the House of Representatives. And one of the reasons or speculations that a Forbes article kind of mentioned was usually when things get stalled, it means that there's lobbyists involved. So people lobbying to not change it and to enjoy kind of the early bird gets the worm. We want more sunshine in the morning than at night. So.
I wonder what lobby that would be.
Right.
we must have that light in the morning. I can't imagine who that is, but the Senate approved it.
Yes.
Senate's on record, and the House just won't vote on it. They won't even bring it up.
No.
So, well, anyway, call your congressman. That's what's holding it. But it is startling that first night of it's what 4:30 now, and I mean up here the sunrise and sunsets are a little more extreme back from where I'm from in Missouri. So I mean it's like at the worst 6 weeks from now it'll be like 3:30. It'll start feeling like it's crazy, you know. But anyway, thanks for looking into that. I wonder, what do you think? Do you wish that daylight savings time would just go away? So
Call your congressman.
call your congressman, or call Heather Spaulding. Let her know all about it.
I mean, you can, but I can't do anything.
Lastly, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the very difficult weekend for any customer of Washington State Ferries, especially those wanting to get around the San Juans. Rough week. Was it Yakima?
Yakima.
I think Thursday maybe started to have troubles, or even Wednesday. And I think that at one point for one trip in the middle of the day, it made one successful trip, and then they gave up on it again. Maybe I imagine that. There were so many alerts for those 4 or 5 days. But it looked like they maybe had hoped that they had fixed it. And who knows? I mean, we don't know. Washington State Ferries does not disclose anything more than mechanical issue or things like that. So there's another meeting of the Flow group, I think tomorrow. Sorry, I didn't get that ready in front of me. Tom Starr said that people are welcome to come. So ferry lovers of Washington, you're not supposed to do this, but I'm going to do this right here because I want to be able to tell people when this meeting is. I don't know if it's going to be Key Bank again. We'll put details, if I can't find it right away here on this page. It was last week from Tom Starr. But I want to ask you guys. I just have a let's see. Thursday, November 16th from 2 to 4 at the San Juan Island Library Meeting Room is the next Flow meeting. Thursday, November 16th, 2 to 4, San Juan Island Library meeting. That'll be their third meeting, and I don't know what the subject is. But I'm personally developing an idea, and you guys don't have to react. You probably shouldn't. But I think it's great that they're going to build 4 more boats or 5 more boats, and they're going to be state-of-the-art, electric and fancy and unprecedented. it also sounds like I'm talking to more and more people who it sounds like that's going to be a real challenge to get those things built because nobody's building them. They're much more expensive and much more difficult to build. They haven't even put out the bid process, right? That's next year, I believe. The bids.
I thought they had put out the bid process, but
Are they going
I
to
could be
open the
wrong.
bids or choose the bids?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it seems to me when you look at how many boats are in jeopardy now, they're having such trouble keeping them going. It affected Bainbridge. It affected Bainbridge route this weekend. It affected the Edmonds route this weekend. It affected the San Juans this weekend. I didn't see too much impact on Vashon, a little bit. And the Port Townsend route was affected, but that was because of low tides, so that's not anybody's fault. But there are so many boats now, and it's in such a bad situation. Is it not fair, again, you don't have to answer, but is it not fair to assume that things are going to get even worse over the next 3 or 4 years before more boats can be brought online? I can't think of anything that would cause the
I feel
thing
like
to even...
our ferry advisory people have even warned us of that. So,
So, it's scary to think that things could get worse from here. I don't know what that even looks like because this is pretty bad. So I'm starting just personally, just me speaking for just as one single person looking at the situation, that maybe the state legislature should authorize a second batch of boats that are a little bit more conventional. I hear a lot about clean diesel. I hear about them being more practical. I hear them being the kind of boat that boat builders know how to make and would be able to make quickly. And we don't just need 4 or 5 boats. We need double that. So I'm just wondering at this point in this whole thing if it would be prudent. The legislature and the governor, whoever the next governor is going to be, is going to have to do something more than is being done. I mean, that's clear, right? We're not doing enough yet. We're not attracting enough employees with all these crew issues, and we're still not going to have enough boats. So more is going to have to be done. More money is going to have to be spent. Some heavy lifts coming, hopefully in the next legislature. And it just seems to me like, and I think it'd be very difficult to cancel the boats that are being spec'd out. I think that means a lot to people with a priority on green and all that. I get all that. And, it's probably the right thing to do, but it won't be enough. And it could potentially, I wonder if like a new batch of clean diesel boats could actually be delivered before these other kinds of boats. But whatever is on the table right now is not enough. It's not enough. So at least you're nodding to that. What is the solution? We will see. I guess we should say that the letter from the county and the town of Friday Harbor to the governor and all leadership should probably be mentioned. It was a powerful letter. Do we know who exactly wrote that?
it was written by both parties. And they kind of all came together and worked on it.
There was a really impressive part of that, I thought, and I read the thing, in which they list things that could be done a little bit more at a local level. I think there were like 8 different ideas.
Yep.
And they all seemed like things that could be done, including in one of the half a dozen or 8 or 10 ideas was something that has already been starting to coalesce here locally with just unilaterally, like we're not waiting for you anymore, on the rescue of stranded passengers. Right. So there's at least one of those on there that we're not even going to wait for. Right. We're not going to wait for consensus. We're just going to do it. But it seemed like there were some good ideas about crewing and schedule. I don't know, all the different things. And we should probably insist on that. that stuff is, and I don't think, as I remember, most of that was not super expensive. It was just better management, good ideas. But that was a good letter.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the second letter from this county that they have gotten, the San Juan County Hospital District 1 or 2, whatever we are on San Juan Island. Our hospital commissioners wrote a letter also to them on the basis of, people are trying to get to doctor's appointments and they can't. These are life and death situations here. We can't keep doing this. So.
Well, very soon, in the next week or two, CNL2 is going to begin a 1 hour a day broadcast 5 days a week on every weekday that isn't a national holiday, covering the state of Washington State ferries, not just in the islands, the whole system. We will be trying to add value to alerts that come out. We will press for more information that comes out in some of those alerts, particularly the cause of some of these situations. It's my personal opinion as the person who's starting this new show, which will be called Transit Plus AI, Transit Plus .ai. But it's my opinion as a person who actually has a background in passenger communications for Sound Transit, that the state could share more information and should share more information. It is not enough for the pain and suffering that was caused over the past 4 or 5 days to say, oh, there's something wrong with the Yakima. That's not enough. We deserve to know more. What would we do with that? I don't know. I would just know. If you told me it was a propeller or a steering thing or, I don't know. I just need to know. I want to know. I think it's my business. So we are going to press for more information. And if we can't get it through the state, we'll talk to the people on the boat. We'll talk to the people on the street. We'll ask anybody who I think might know. But it's time for more granular coverage of the state of the ferries, and we are going to try to block and get ready to do some kind of a job of reporting what's going on in Olympia in this next session, which is crucial. We can't have this year come and go without better, even more solutions than are on the table. I think everybody, including the writers of the letter, says everything that's on the table isn't enough. It's still not enough. So we're going to be pressing for another round of solutions. So anyway, we'll start that. I don't know if we're going to start on Monday, but we'll start it no later than the Monday after that. And then we're not going to stop until I don't know what. We're not going to stop anytime soon once we start. So that's coming from CNL2. And thank you very much for a nice show. This was number 5. We've done 5 of these now. So getting better and better, right? And so we're reporting from the ferry right now. We're pushing off. And here come the credits. Thank you, Jeremy Tyler, for great directing.